Oregon has established a reputation for fine craft beers and microbrews. With ample space and local ingredients, Clackamas County is a prime destination for breweries in the Northwest. Breakside Brewery started as a small brew pub in Portland before expanding into a production brewery in Clackamas County. Now, beer produced from their facility in Milwaukie can be found around the world. In this edition of Made in Clackamas County, their team shows us how they produce their award-winning beer. It all starts with 4 main ingredients: malt, hops, yeast, and water. Brewers mill malted barley into what is called grist, and water is then mixed in to create a mash. Enzymes begin breaking the starch into sugar. These sugars are eventually converted into the alcohol in beer. The sugary liquid, or wort, is then strained off the grain and boiled. During the boil, hops are added for flavor and aroma. After the boil, the hot wort is put into a fermentation tank.
On the way to the fermenter, it's cooling down. We cool it from boiling, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, down to, for Pilsner, it's down to 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Once the wort is cool, yeast is added. Fermentation can take a couple of days to several weeks depending on the recipe, and it's not always an exact science.
We're working with a organic product. We're working with live ingredients that yeast is temperamental, and we do everything we can to control it, but it is its own little creature. They're single-celled organisms, they kind of do what they want to do.
In their on-site lab, brewers closely monitor bacteria and yeast.
There's no pathogens that grow in beer, so we're not worried about that. But what we are worried about is yeast or bacteria other than the yeast or bacteria that we introduce into the beer growing and producing flavors that we're not looking for.
When the beer is done fermenting, it is then moved off the yeast in a natural filtration process. And finally, carbonation takes place. Most beer is made in this way, but there are many variations in brewing techniques. Adjusting yeasts, temperature, fermentation, tank size, and even the type of water used can change the flavor of the final product.
It's mostly water. That's part of the reason why Oregon has so many great breweries, is because we have amazing water.
Breakside also creates some unique variations using barrels that once stored brandy, bourbon, and other aged liquors. By aging their beers inside barrels, the liquid takes on the aromas and flavors of the barrel.
One thing that makes this unique is thoughtful experimentation. 3 years in a row now, we've been making over 100 different beers a year. So it's quite a lot of beers compared to a lot of breweries, I would say. We go into it as sort of a reverse engineer process too. So we're not just throwing random ingredients into a tank. We are literally deciding what we want out of a beer and then kind of going to reverse and figuring out how to get to that. So it's a very thoughtful experimentation process.
As it stands, this facility has the capacity to produce 30,000 barrels of beer each year. They distribute in kegs and bottles from Vancouver, BC to as far away as Norway and Japan.
As we've doubled our production every single year since we've started, and we've been in this location for three plus years, and we're planning on doubling production again next year. So I think that if that's not a sign of growth for Clackamas County, I don't know what is.
And for local customers, you can pull up a chair in their tap room and try one of Breakside's award-winning beers, made right here in Clackamas County.